Livin' La Vida Low-Carb. This show is changing lives. We talking about your diet, trying to get you feeling right. Cut up them avocados, fry some eggs. Time to explore the longest running health podcast, hosted by Jimmy Moore. Time to give up the crappy garbage. We're getting into ketosis. Every day is a new step to your goal. Yeah, you're getting closer. Motivated and focused. Don't stop, just go. Time to get inspiration from the Livin' La Vida Low-Carb Show. Hey, the livinlowcarbshow.com.
Guys, that right there is Frank Llosa. You might know Frank. His name is kind of out there in the keto sphere, so to speak, for his work with the Ketone Esters. So I've got some of your Ketone Esters here. I'm showing them on camera. Yeah. So this is, Frank kind of made me suffer through the gross part of the development of this product, where it tasted like jet fuel. I think that very first version you sent me.
Oh yeah.
Was just so gross. And you're like, just hold your nose, get through it. And ketone esters are like basically exogenous ketones, you guys, on acid. It's like 10 times more potent, raises your ketones a whole lot faster. So yeah, so I've known about you from this product here for a little while. But today, you guys, he is from a company he also is a part of called Hard Ketones. Go follow them over on Instagram, Hard Ketones. There they are. Yep. They're the world's first ketogenic and ethanol-free alcohol. And yes, I have jazz music on in the background. If I'm going to be drinking on camera, I'm going to have jazz music on. So it is redefining what alcohol is. It gives you a buzz with benefits, as you'll find out here today. A lot of people, Frank, have been asking me, have you heard about these hard ketones? I want the hard ketone. I don't know anything about it. I said, yeah, I'm actually going to get the guy on my show. So welcome, man.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. And you are what people call a hyper taster. So like you are the toughest. So if I can get something to taste halfway decent, like I'm not even expecting you to like this. I'm expecting you to just not hate it. Is my hope.
And look, guys, I haven't tried it yet. He sent me 4 cans a couple of weeks ago. I've got 3 of them in like a little ice bath here to keep them cold. And I'm going to probably end up drinking, if I'm still tolerating them and not feeling anything yet, all 3. So we're going to see how this goes. But yeah, he's right. I am a very hyper taster. So, and so since I've had no experience drinking it yet, I will give you on the fly my thoughts about it. And everything. And so it's going to be fun. Hardketones.com/buy is the website if you want to go check it out. And he is giving you 10% off?
Yeah, 10% off.
On Jimmy 10, right?
Yeah, Jimmy 10. Yeah, yep.
I am, the DPM says Hard Ketones, the best buzzy drink I've had in a long time. Highly recommended. See, you've already got fans watching.
Nice, nice.
There you go. All right, so while you're telling me your story, I'm going to pop open a can. I will let people know.
I might join you too.
Raspberry, yeah, please do. Raspberry lime is the flavor. Is that the only flavor?
Yeah, we're not. People aren't really buying it for flavor, so we'll go into the other product lines that we're planning on doing, and I'd rather do those before changing the flavor because people aren't, drinking it for the flavor.
Yes. So while I open it for the first time, and I'm going to do all my taste testing, smell testing, and all that, tell us your story of who you are. How did you come up with wanting to be involved in the ketone market to begin with? Because like I said earlier, you do have the ketone aid, ketone esters and stuff. How did you get involved in that? Who are you? Where'd you come from?
Sure. Yep. So I live in the DC area.
I like
How is it? It smells good. I want to see their first taste. How's the first taste?
I don't hate it.
Okay, good. Yes.
It does have a bit of, just for me, a little bit of a wang. But I know what ketone esters taste like. They don't taste like that. So
it has a little bit of a wang, you said? Wang. I
can taste the lime wang. So I tasted the lime. I don't really, is it raspberry the other thing?
Raspberry, yeah.
Yeah, so I tasted the lime right away. It's not, let's just put it this way. It's not horrible. So that's a good start. That's a good start, Frank. Keep going with your story. Maybe it'll get better as I get inebriated.
Actually, people have said that, the first couple sips, they're not sure. And then before they know it, they're actually reaching for the can on their own accord. But we can go back to the taste later. But
getting better.
the goal was for it to be like a a cross between a LaCroix and a hard seltzer. So, and being as unsweet as possible, and we're doing all we can to lower this latest batch. We lowered the stevia by 70%.
Yes.
So we're trying to lower it as much as possible, but we need some sweetness in there to overcome the ketone, the R13-butanediol. So you don't want that lingering aftertaste.
I will give you kudos to that. It's not overly powerfully sweet. I've had some other seltzers. In fact, in preparation for doing this today, last night I had a Bud Light seltzer. Just
okay, great.
Idea of the difference, and it was very sweet for me. So,
yeah.
So I just wanted to see what the difference would be. And so yours is pleasantly enough sweet for a keto dieter, a carnivore dieter. You could drink this and not go, whoa, blow your head off kind of sweet. So good job on the sweetness.
Yeah, thanks. We have had some people that are not in the keto world that they needed to squeeze in some drops of like Hawaiian punch or whatever to ramp up the sweetness. So everyone is different. So maybe we'll have a line that attracts to everyone. So so my story with ketones and Ketone Ester, it all started with my wife's godfather, who, my wife's godfather is and was Dr. Richard Veach. He's been named on maybe 20 different ketone papers. He really is the godfather.
Big name in ketone ester development.
Yeah, but he didn't do many podcasts. So, people might think that people are the king if they are, on 100 podcasts. He was older. He passed away 2 years ago, worked for NIH, and NIH doesn't really want people being interviewed on podcasts. But he did do 1 or 2 podcasts, one with Dave Asprey, which is just thank God we got him on there, because the world would maybe, miss his work and not fully, see it. And also a Ben Greenfield podcast. And
so initially, podcast, I would have loved to have interviewed Richard.
I don't know if I knew you back then, early on, when I was just trying to help him get his word out.
Yes.
So initially, I was trying to help him raise money for it, because he just wanted someone to give him $20 million and just make a tanker of it, and then have people walk up to this tanker car and just drink from the spout and be done with it. No marketing, no business. Didn't care about all that stuff. Just wanted to make a whole bunch of it. But the pitch back then was, we thought people would drink $60 worth of this ketone ester that back then tasted like vomit. So that pitch wasn't too good for investors. They don't believe in science and stuff that's been done in mice and stuff. They all wanted to put money in CBD. And then I decided, well, I had some .com success and I had some money sitting around. I was like, well, why am I raising money when I believe in it? Why don't I go do it? And I got his blessing, and before you know it, I was switching careers, and took us 2 years of R&D, because the initial batch, one serving was anywhere from $5,000 a bottle to Dave Asprey spent $25,000 a bottle. Yes. And I've heard 2 Tour de France people say that they heard about this athlete, Team Sky, that dropped a bottle on the side of the road, and they're freaking out for 5 miles. And this one rider that was near them was like, why are they freaking out? And then he found out that they were drinking this $5,000 per bottle. And he's like, oh, now I understand why they were freaking out. They couldn't just go and get another Gatorade. So it took a long time to make it. And let me explain a little bit what it is, the ketone A, even though the main focus will be this, but it all transitions. The ketone ester, that's KE1. That's our more diluted. That's actually our better tasting one. The KE4 is 6 times stronger than that one.
The better one.
That one's easier to drink. So there's this umbrella called exogenous ketones. So instead of your body making it endogenously, where you burn fat to make ketones, this is exogenous ketones. So you drink ketones and it's in your blood. Now, many companies will call that being in ketosis. And by the way, if you're going to drink 3, you probably want to drink it a little bit faster, because if you drink 3 over the hour and a half. Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay. So the exogenous ketones, they skip that fat burning stage. Okay. So some people will call it you're in ketosis, but it's a little bit misleading, because I consider ketosis burning fat to make ketones. But other companies, they'll say you're in ketosis, so you'll technically have ketones in your blood, but you're not burning fat. But so the consumer will hear in ketosis and they'll think fat burning, even though it's actually skipping that fat. So it's a little bit misleading, and people think that it's for weight loss. And, there are ways to use it for that, but, my wife said you can't advertise it for weight loss until she loses weight on it. So we don't advertise it for that.
So pause right there. I'm on the first can, and I'm about right there. And
oh, wow. I didn't realize.
Starting to feel a little bit of the brain effects of this, which that's not surprising. When I've done your esters before, or exogenous ketones, I get that kind of real hyper alert. And of course, this time, this is the latest podcast I've ever recorded. It's after 6 o'clock at night. I don't normally do it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm hyper alert. So that's the first thing I'm noticing. And that's one of the benefits of the drink, right?
Yep. And this has the cost per can, which is still expensive. We'll talk about that. It's actually 50% less expensive than the KE1 and KE4 on a cost per gram basis. But people are, some people, they're comparing it to like a hard seltzer and stuff, and it's 2 to 3 times more than that. But for what it's worth, it is 50-60% less.
I mean, if you think about the highest quality energy drink, like a Bang, it's got kind of a Bang kind of flavor profile somewhat, along with a seltzer, and then with the technology of the Ketone Ester. Yeah, I mean, you've basically got 3 things in one here with this. Yeah. Is that what it's called? R1,3?
Yeah, we pronounce it R13. So that's we'll get into this in a second, but that's the molecule that's in there, R13 butanediol. So I called it R13.
But I'm feeling it. I was just letting you know. I got to there.
Yeah, you might not be able to get to 3. I think we should be focusing on 2 for you. I think 2 will be plenty.
And keep in mind, I'm also not a drinker. I don't regularly drink, so I'm going to be impacted a little more. But it has gotten better, the taste, by the way. I didn't mean to interrupt your story, but I just...
Yeah, sure. No, please. It's more interesting you talking than me talking. But I also consider myself not a drinker. That's the funny thing. And some people say to me, oh, I don't drink. And I'm trying to rewrite that narrative. You don't drink ethanol. You don't drink because ethanol is what wrecks your body. And we'll go into how this all works. But ethanol is the problem. This has no ethanol. So, does it really count? And I even sent out an email called Dryish January. If you weren't able to go sober and you're trying to, quit ethanol, this is a great substitute for it. So real quick, the exogenous ketones, sometimes it'll even include MCT oil, the C8. That's technically a exogenous ketone because it converts to ketones. But most popular on the market now are what are called ketone salts. And that is beta-hydroxybutyrate combined with something called, or a base, just sodium, magnesium, calcium. But usually the salt load is just way too high. And it's racemic, which means only half of it is bioavailable.
One down.
And so the ketone salts are what are more commonly out there. So the ketone ester is beta-hydroxybutyrate. Instead of combining it with a salt, with a base, it's beta-hydroxybutyrate combined with something called R13 butanediol. So this is where this ingredient is coming into. So it's the R13 is a starting material for the ketone ester. So it's a starting material for the ketone ester. And I asked Dr. Veach, tell me about the R13 butanediol. And he said, when you drink the ketone ester, it splits apart in your blood. It gets into your blood as an ester, splits apart, and then the R13 goes through the liver and converts to beta-hydroxybutyrate. So in the ketone ester is like a fast release, BHB in your system, and then a slow release, R13 butanediol, which goes to the liver. Similar to the C8 MCT oil goes through the liver, and 15% of it makes ketones. So if you're familiar with this C8 oil, it makes ketones through the liver, same way, but that's 15%. This is 70-80% of it converts to ketones.
Wow.
So I said to Dr. Veach, why don't people just drink R13? Why the expense of making an ester? Because that makes it like 4 times more expensive. Why not just give people R13? And his answer was epic. I remember it just so distinctly. He said, the mice were stumbling. So, they loaded up with, they loaded up the mice with R13, and they were stumbling around, and they kind of discarded that, like, oh, well, that won't work on humans. And then that's when I went off and filed a patent for, I think some people might want that. And
yes.
so I've been wanting to do this for like 4 or 5 years, but the ketone ester has been the focus, and I didn't want to get the shiny red apple syndrome where, oh, wow, look at that. And you just get distracted. And
you came up to me at the Biohacking Congress in Miami, Florida last year, and you said, Jimmy, what do you think about a ketogenic seltzer alcoholic beverage? And I was like, tell me more. and it had really cool, I am starting to feel the effects of it pretty good. I'm about this far down on the second can, and I'm already kind of going, okay, I'm feeling it. It's real.
Maybe you
guys,
should stand up and do a little twirl and see if it makes your head.
Hey, who knows? I'm at the latest I've ever done a podcast, and I've never drank on camera. So this is going to be hilarious at some point. So, but you came up to me and you're like, I've got this idea. And I was just like, that sounds amazing, to be able to have the benefits of having an alcoholic beverage without it being ethanol, getting somewhat of the buzz, but also the energy, and yet not really like, would this won't stop fat burning because you're actually infusing ketones into your body. So it actually, I mean, I wouldn't say it promotes weight loss, but it won't make you gain weight.
Right. So you can actually use it to skip meals. So some people eat it either instead of dinner, because you raise ketones, and ketones, when they're up, will suppress appetite. So you can use it instead of dinner, or some people eat it or drink it during or before dinner, and then they found that they're eating like half of their meal. Yeah. So it can be used as part of an intermittent fasting plan as well.
I will tell you, I was hungry before I started drinking, so I was a little worried.
Perfect.
That empty stomach, and I start drinking, and it would be a little rough. So, but I'm doing okay.
Now, most people, just to manage expectations, because people will, most people say that when they drink one can, it feels like a Xanax, just a relaxation, and then 2 cans to get a buzz for men. Women, usually 1 can is enough, but usually 2 cans for men. But I had a guy I talked to today, 250 pounds, half of a can. He stopped at half of a can. He's like, wow. I felt a buzz and I was good. And he's trying to get off of his ethanol kick. And he's like, I had no craving, to grab a beer or wine. And we even had a nurse who was normally drinking, she said, 2 glasses of wine a night. She's a biohacker. She does ice baths. She was doing 2 glasses of wine every night or every day after work. Turns out that 2 glasses of wine were very large glasses of wine. So it was really 1 bottle every single day. Wow. And she switched over to 2 cans of R13, and she's now been 3 weeks with no ethanol. And she wakes up and her face isn't inflamed like from ethanol, and she's just, she's loving it.
I had a friend of mine, they saw that I was going to be interviewing you and drinking this on camera. By the way, I'm warming up the BioSense to test my ketones here in a minute. And he's like, dude, because he made me some homemade moonshine or something one time, and it about blew my head off. He's like, yeah, you sure you want to drink that ketone alcohol drink? Like, yeah, I want to see what it's like.
Moonshine.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in seeing if that meter works. It probably won't work because that doesn't test for beta hydroxybutyrate. The breath meters test for either acetone or acetone. So technically in the Krebs cycle, BHB does turn into acetoacetate and acetone eventually. So your numbers might register something. But do you have a blood meter around?
I haven't tested blood in years. I did it so long, Frank, that I just got tired of doing it. Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine. All right, it's still
Yeah,
warming up.
now that you're blowing into things, people sometimes ask about breathalyzers. It does not show up on a breathalyzer. I don't know if you have any of those around.
Oh, it's getting ready. Sorry. Here we go.
You don't have a breathalyzer by any chance, do you?
Oh, it's analyzing. Okay. I used to have the breathalyzer back when I was doing my experiments with ketosis pretty hot and heavy about 10 years ago. Yeah, it's not registering because it's that's 0.2. So that's pretty low. So
that's a good baseline. We'll keep on checking it because I wouldn't be surprised that it starts going around the system and shows up a little bit.
Cycle. Yeah, yeah.
But most people will get 1.5 to 2 millimolars per can.
Wow.
So yeah, it's got a lot of stuff in there. Now people might ask, well, what about using it for sports performance because it raises ketones? But we found that it doesn't work for sport because it makes people too relaxed. It's more of a anti-anxiety. And initially when we gave it to people, they incorrectly took it to the gym and they said, Frank, I don't think you have a winner here because I was jogging or lifting weights and there was this couch and all I could do is think about sitting on the couch and not working out. So but yeah, it doesn't tend to work for that. But post-workout, if you normally would drink a beer to celebrate, oh my God, beer destroys you post-workout when you need recovery. This would actually be great for recovery, post-workout.
Give it to some World Series of Poker players so they can just stay chill and not show that they're sweating about a bad hand.
I would still, for those people, I think that the KE4, KE1 might be better because they're still, I'm not sure if they want any intoxicating effect, on the poker player. They want to, the KE4 is more for laser focused meetings, and stuff like that. But if they normally drink beer or alcohol while doing poker, then sure. Yeah. Then it's a no brainer, swapping this in instead. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier the price, and it is somewhat of a shocker if some people don't understand the technology involved. Again, you guys, R13 Hard Ketones. I got the guy that has the patent pending for the Hard Ketones, hardketones.com/buy. Use the coupon code Jimmy10, get 10% off. Tell us what the price is, why it costs that much, and anybody that's known you with the esters knows the evolution of the costs of this over time. Like you said, $25,000 is what Dave Asprey spent on a bottle, and now it's much cheaper because you've made it that way. Tell us why the R13 costs what it does.
So after your coupon code, when you buy in bulk, it gets down to $5.50 each. And one of the problems, first of all, is just shipping liquid. So our 6-pack is, $45 after the coupon code. But for some locations, we require a 21 and over signature to receive it.
Yes.
So for some people, it's actually $25 just the FedEx. We might charge $4 for shipping, but it's actually $25. So half of it is just shipping water across America. So yeah, the ingredients cost us much more than even one of these hard seltzers that are in the grocery store. That's just a commodity. That's just ethanol, pour that in. So it costs a lot more. And, until we get a million cans being made at a time, the price is much more. We're still losing money even at that price. But if you think about it, replacing ethanol, people find that they can take much less of this. So first of all, the health benefits, that in and of itself is priceless. If you're drinking 2 cans or 2 glasses of wine a day and you can get off of that, what is that worth?
I'm here now, and I'm really feeling the third one's not going in my mouth. I'm gonna set it way away from me so I don't even get tempted to put it in my mouth.
So most people are content after one. You probably would have been fine with just, you might even just stop at that 1.5. Why do the rest of it? There's no need. So it might cost more per can, but if you can use less cans.
Other than I don't want to waste that much.
No. You can go ahead and put it in the fridge. The guy that had half a can yesterday, it'll be flat, so it won't taste as good. But he just put it in the fridge. And
look, guys, it's got a little bit of bubbly in it, and so the bubbly helps with the texture in the mouth. So If it was flat, I don't think I would tolerate. It's already hard for me to tolerate the taste.
Right.
I know without the bubbles.
Really? So that's hard. I need to send you I need you to be my beta sampler and send you a whole bunch of things to try, because you are the toughest. You are the toughest.
Well, I've always been that way. Hyper smeller, hyper taster. So yeah.
But how does it compare to the Bud Seltzer though? It's all relative. You had the Bud Seltzer.
Well, that one tasted too much like beer, and I don't do beer.
Okay.
And it had like a black cherry flavor, and it was very faint. This one, at least I taste the lime. I'm getting very small hints of raspberry, but I'm definitely getting the lime. And then whatever that funk flavor is, I assume that's the R13 in there. That's the funk that you're trying to cover up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
So if you added, I don't know, a little stronger flavor of maybe the raspberry, it would make, I don't know.
Yeah, we tried. We tried. We were at capacity. We tried doubling the flavor, and it didn't come through. There's a certain maximum as a percentage. Yeah. It just stops. So that stopped. So we'll keep on playing with it. But for most people, it's like any of the other seltzers that are out there. And for some people, it tastes like a straight up LaCroix. And they don't even sense that alcohol.
It's more akin to a LaCroix than it is a seltzer.
Right.
It's kind of a unsweetened-ish, barely sweetened energy drink is what it tastes like.
Yeah, Red Bull. Some people say it tastes like Red Bull. Yeah.
So it's got and some of the Bang flavors, it kind of has that. If you could get the fruitiness a little more potent, then it would cover up that but the R13, guys, that's what you're getting in this. That's why you're drinking it, is to get that R13. And so I should
have sent you some raw. I should have sent you some raw R13, and then you'd be like, you'd be bowing. You'd be like, oh my God, amazing, amazing. If I give you one drop of that, you'd be like, oh, that's what you're working with. Okay, well, Bang doesn't have that in it. Bang just has some caffeine in it. So, and also we're not doing sugar. So if we would have put in sugar or sucralose into this drink, it would have been a no-brainer.
Covered it up.
But we wanted to stick with stevia and monk, and we might even drop the stevia and go all the way over to monk if we can, because people tend to prefer that.
Look, monk fruit is a very potent sweetener. I know the Keto Chow people, they put it in the natural strawberry flavor, and when you have monk fruit in something, it actually enhances the sweetness of other things. Yeah. When you add monk fruit to your drink, and then maybe you drink it with or eat it with your dinner, you're going to find that flavor of the things you're eating while you're drinking this.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It's different. So like green beans will suddenly be sweet, or anything with just a tinge of sweetness in it. It will heighten the sweetness in other foods. It's pretty cool, actually.
Do any of your people watching, do they have any questions? We can also field questions.
Yeah. So
I don't know if I can't see if there's anything on there.
So guys, we got the guy from Hard Ketones. He's talking about the R13 product. Jimmy is getting inebriated on camera, and enjoying it. Actually, the first swallow, I will tell you, it was gross. I didn't want to say that out loud, but
I told you you could. I told you you could.
Okay,
it got manage expectations.
I didn't want to make that first impression what people thought it was, and so I was like, I'm gonna hold off judgment. As I've continued to drink, maybe because I'm inebriated, it tastes better. I'm just kidding, but no, it got better the more I started drinking it. But yeah, guys, what do you want to know about this this product? You did say it was. You talked about the cost, right? We already did that, right? Yeah.
So if you can buy it in the 25 or 50 pack, then it goes down to $5.50 a can. But the 6 pack, half of it is just our shipping and 21 and over signatures, so we have to charge.
Yeah.
And it comes out to like $8 or $9 a can. But if you're trying to replace ethanol, I mean that's priceless. And you might find yourself drinking 1 can instead of 4 cans of something else. And much healthier, but then also what's the price of 4 cans?
It's potent, I will give you that. And I'm on my second one, so yes, I probably should have stopped with the one, because the one, I felt it, but it wasn't blow me over. Now that I'm towards the end of the second one, I'm like almost in the blow me over stage. Ferraro says, love all of your products. So you got a fan of the Ketone Esters. And
that's my mom.
Oh, is that your mom?
No, that's not. I'm just kidding.
Hanu says, "Get it, Jimmy? Are you drunk yet?" Hey, yes, now I am.
But you can see if you're going to a holiday party. So
Yes.
when people try to drink alcohol when they're keto, and they're just picking from the best of the worst. Like they're literally trying to get the lowest carb, the lowest sugar, and they'll do vodka and water. But ethanol destroys your ketosis. Ethanol is like the body goes straight to that. So now you can actually, bring something to a holiday party. And
I should have had a glass of water next to me to try to dilute this a little bit. The Dancing Carnivore says, "Can't wait to watch this playback." Yes, it's going to be quite entertaining by the time we're done. Bulletproof Coconut, can you technically buy R13 by itself? You mentioned earlier that you were going to send me some, but is it palatable if you had straight up?
No, it's like the raw ester that we might have sent you at some point in time. That it is, put one drop on your knuckle, and it is, very, very nasty.
Yes. Dancing Carnivore says, "What flavors are there?" Right now, it's just the raspberry lime, right?
So let's talk about the flavors. So raspberry lime, but what we're working on is a beer next. So a ketogenic beer. So what we do is we find a 0.0 ethanol beer, and then make sure that it's also low carb, low sugar, and then we add this ingredient to it, and you'll have something like a Michelob Ultra or a Bud Light, a super light beer with this ingredient instead of ethanol. So that's up next, and then after that, maybe a gin and tonic type drink.
I love all of those. That's awesome. By the way, part of why I'm kind of getting out of there is I did an ice bath like an hour ago. And so I was already chill from that, and now I'm chilling with the R13.
I hope you're recording it. Are you recording to save this video, or is this going to be one and gone?
Airing on my
okay,
podcast.
Good.
This is airing on my podcast after we do it live. So
nice.
I go, wow, I want whatever he's drinking. Dancing Carnivore said, "How did I not know about this product before?" Because it's brand new, sweetie. That's why we try to keep you on the cutting edge. Frank's been a good friend for many years with the Ketone Ester stuff. So when you mentioned a keto alcoholic beverage, I was like, dude, let's do it. Let's see it. But yes,
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to get the word out. I mean, it'll take years for people to figure this out. But eventually, once people figure it out, there's really going to be no reason for the regular hard seltzers except for price. There'll be no reason to drink ethanol, ever again if I can match, the flavor.
But some people would say, well, if it becomes more popular because it's a better alternative, just like anything, when you show people you can make a product that you already use better, then they'll eventually go to the better, even if it costs a little more in the short term. Then more people want that little more, and then you've got a market basically that you corner. How big is the seltzer market, the energy drink market? I mean, have you done the specs on those markets to kind of see who you're competing with?
Well, I try to stay away from the energy, so I'm actually anti-caffeine. So I don't like all those, energy drinks, because this is different. This is a cleaner energy source.
There's no B vitamins or anything in this. This is just straight up ketones and sodium, which is typical of a bubbly drink.
The hard seltzer market is taken off. There's actually a shortage in skinny cans because all the seltzers decided to do skinny cans. So, that market's skyrocketing because people want healthier alternatives, and those products tend to be lower or zero carbs, and that's what they are looking for.
So there are the ingredients: carbonated water, and then there's the R13. And then what? Non-GMO monk fruit, agar. What's that?
So there's agar, and then there's also gum arabic. They are agents that keep the bitter down and suppress that R13 a little bit more, so we don't have to use nearly as much stevia and keep the sugars down.
Yes.
So it helps knock out some of that R13 to make it not bad.
And the salt probably does similar, as does the natural flavors, and then the potassium sorbate, which is a typical preservative.
Yeah. So one person asked, whether this will be available in stores. We only have it in one store right now in Chicago, but for the most part, it'll probably be a year or two before stores pick this up, because they might not understand it. It's just so new and so different. They're gonna be like, "What? Do I put it in the non-alcoholic beverage category, or do I put it in the alcohol? Where do I put it?" But that is eventually the goal. And then I just put a can in my fridge. I enjoy the flavor. Okay, so Annie just cracked one open, I guess.
I'll get to the questions. I'm still way up. You skipped a bunch,
okay.
So let me handle the questions. I know I'm inebriated.
Oh, sorry.
I know I'm inebriated, but I can still handle a podcast. I could do it when I'm drunk or asleep. So. And I am tipsy, guys. So let's just enjoy it while you can, because I'm never tipsy on camera. Okay. Bulletproof Coconut says, so is this drink a ketone ester that's bound to an R13?
No, this is just the R13. So the ketone ester is beta hydroxybutyrate combined with R13. This is just the R13. It's just half of the ketone ester molecule by itself. And you might have missed it at the beginning. We said, I talked about how I asked Dr. Beach, well, why not just give people R13? And that's when he said that the mice were stumbling, and they just discarded that as a human option. And then that's when I thought that'd be a great idea.
This mouse is stumbling right now, I can tell you. I'm going to test my ketones here in a minute.
Yeah.
Bulletproof wants to know, how quickly does it raise blood ketones? You mentioned per can about 1.5, but how long? I guess it depends on the individual, right?
No, it's usually pretty consistent, actually. If you took a shot of it, if you took it all at once, the peak is at 45 minutes. But then people are drinking it slowly, so that with a can, they're drinking it slowly, so it's harder to know where the peak is. But what people often misunderstand with all ketones is that ketones don't do anything in the blood. They don't make your blood more red. They don't make your blood thinner or anything. It's when it leaves the blood and goes to your brain and goes to the muscles, and then even though your blood ketones might go down, that's when the ketones just start to work. So some people will feel the benefit for 4 or 5 hours, and even some people 24 hours. And some people are finding that their sleep is actually improving. So this one person took a shot of ethanol, and then their HRV recovery score was 32, very bad. And then they took 2 cans of ours, and their recovery score was 85, so better than their non-alcohol day. So they're actually getting better sleep as opposed to worse sleep.
All right, it's analyzing. Yeah, I get good sleep because of all the things I do, the biohacks and things that I learned at the different biohacking conferences, the ice bath, the magnesium and stuff. So yeah, it will be very interesting because I already get really good sleep. I can't imagine your drink would get. All right, it's doubled.
Probably.
It's
okay.
doubled.
It's starting to go up.
It went
so
from
that's a meter that tests indirectly for ketones. So it tests acetone. So the numbers I was expecting wouldn't be higher, but I have gone to one of these conferences and someone had one of those breath meters, and I drank a bunch of ketones, and I did record the highest score that they had, but it might even be an hour or even 2 hours later. So even after this podcast, keep on blowing on it, and if you don't mind, see if it keeps on going up, because it's a process to convert it to acetone.
And just a reminder, you guys, if I was testing blood ketones, it would be showing up greatly there earlier, but because, like you said, it has to go through the Krebs cycle, it kind of comes out in the acetone on a delayed basis. That's why, and this is the BioSense, by the way, for those of you that haven't seen it before, it's like a 10-to-1 of beta hydroxybutyrate. It's pretty accurate, FDA approved, blah, blah, blah. I like it better because I don't like pricking my fingers anymore. I did the pricking 10 years ago, which it ended up being Keto Clarity and turned into Keto Clarity. And so it's like, I don't like pricking my finger anymore. I did it many years. A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it using the nanotechnology, so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out.
Now they're coming out with a continuous ketone monitor. Abbott just announced it last week. So yeah,
Abbott's doing that. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Abbott. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder what that's going to cost, because the blood glucose ones are a bitch. They're so expensive.
And I wonder how they were, because obviously to get FDA approval, you have to test it on hundreds of subjects. And how do you make hundreds of subjects fast in order to get their ketones up? I wonder what exogenous ketones they needed to use for their study.
Interesting. Yeah. Were you a part of that? Is that what
I cannot confirm nor deny, but obviously just think in terms of trying to test on 100 people and getting them all into ketosis.
We know your scheme here. We know you, Frank. You're not getting anything by us. Annie says, I just put a can in my fridge. I really enjoy the flavor. Annie, I enjoyed it too. I had to get a few sips in before it finally calmed down, but that initial just kind of, because I'm a hyper taster. I taste all the little everything and things. And so that
it might be just when something's different.
It's a minor miracle I swallowed it, because most things like that, I just spit them out because they're just so gross.
Wow. That would have been a great video.
I'm taking a year off from alcohol, says the Dancing Carnivore, but I'm looking forward to what you guys will be offering next year. So technically, Dancing Carnivore, you could drink this. It's not an alcoholic beverage, right?
Well, it is. It's an alcoholic beverage, but what you're taking a year off of is ethanol. Ethanol converts in the liver to acetaldehyde, and acetaldehyde, that is the toxin. That's what wrecks your HRV. That's what makes you dumber. That's what makes you aggressive in bars. That's what makes you, sick and stuff. So, more power to you. If you're doing great and you want to take a year off of all alcohol, great. No reason to bring this back in, but just, this is different. We've actually had 4 recovering alcoholics be able to take it, and they were able to drink half of a can and stop. It doesn't have that same visceral addiction that ethanol has that just lures you back in. After one sip, they just need more and more and more.
Can we talk about that? Is ethanol the sugar of drinking? Basically, sugar in a diet kind of really makes you want to eat more sugar. So is ethanol kind of the equivalent of like a sugar in a diet? And so eliminating sugar and going on a ketogenic diet, for example, helps you kind of control that. And so replacing the ethanol with something else, is that kind of a good analogy?
Kind of. So like with Pringles, you eat one Pringle and you just feel like you need more and more and more. But ethanol goes just much closer to like a heroin, much closer to like the chemical dependence, where people, when they're alcoholics, they wake up in the morning. If they have a bender the night before, they wake up in the morning and the first thing they think about is more ethanol. Whoa. When you have a bag of chips, you don't wake up in the morning craving chips. So it's more of a deep chemical, feeling, and it's really, hard to break that.
Dude, you haven't been a carb addict if you think you wake up in the morning and not think about Pringles potato chips. I promise you, there's some people that go to bed eating it and they wake up grabbing it right away. So.
Touche. Okay, yeah. So then it's similar to that, but people use KE4 and KE1 to mimic ketosis, and when you're in ketosis, people hold on.
We're still here. Are you there?
Yeah. Whenever a call comes in, it kicks out everything else. I should have turned it on airplane mode with Wi-Fi, but then calls. I don't know how to block that.
The king of being live on the air and people trying to call you. So
I think maybe next time I do airplane mode with Wi-Fi, and I don't know if calls get routed through Wi-Fi always. I don't know. Yeah, so sorry about that. No, that was a customer support line. So if one of you is calling the customer support line on the website, don't do that.
So
don't do that.
Bulletproof Coconut says, does this affect your blood sugar or insulin in a good or bad way?
Yeah, so it will lower blood sugar. Absolutely. So I don't know if you have any blood glucose meters around, but it'll lower blood sugar.
Well, think about it. When you raise ketones, there's kind of an equal and opposite reaction in your blood sugar. So that's why you're going to see a good positive response in blood sugar. Obviously, you mentioned this could be a replacement for a meal, which I find interesting for an alcoholic beverage. Usually they say don't drink alcohol on an empty stomach. Maybe that's why some of the people have gone to a half a can. They did it on an empty stomach trying to replace a meal, and it's like, whoa. And I guess I felt that a little bit too, because the last time I ate was 6 hours ago. I think was my last meal. And so I was kind of hungry going into this, and like, oh, this is going on. So maybe that's why I am reacting the way I'm reacting. Maybe
and think of it in terms of cost. If it's $5 a can and you get to skip a $10-15 dinner, you're actually net ahead. So who knows? Maybe that'll be reverse bulletproof coffee, right? Like not a morning thing, but a nighttime thing, and reverse your fasting window.
The nightcap it is. Can it be stronger like a keto version of hard liquor, says Johnny?
So we can, but right now we really want to be careful. We really like people drinking the 12 ounces, because if you make it into a shot, I just don't want it to be abused, and someone, we tell people not to drive while intoxicated and, misuse this. So for a while, we're going to keep it at the 12 ounces so that it encourages more responsible drinking, because you move it into shot form, and before you know it, someone's going to do something silly.
Yeah. And then they find it in the car and they're like, what's this? And you get sued, and you don't want all that. So
yeah.
Well, guys, again, that is Frank Llosa from Hard Ketones. Go check him out over on Instagram. Hard Ketones is the username. Hardketones.com/buy is the website. If you want to go at least noodle around, see what all is in the can. He's got all the information. Of course, I showed you the can while I was drinking it. 78 calories per drink, caffeine-free, ethanol-free, organic.
Let me give you a quick fun story about calories, which I think you might be interested in knowing.
Yeah.
All or most ultra beers, super light beers, all the seltzers, they are all deflated by 20% their calorie count. So when they list 95 calories, it's actually 115. And you might think, how is that possible? So the FDA wanted to encourage alcohol companies to put nutritional facts on their cans and bottles, but then some of the, probably winemakers said, oh, it's too hard for us to know exactly how many calories, so we're not going to do it. So then the FDA, TTB, came out and said, okay, we will give you a 20% leeway. So literally, if you know that your drink is 100 calories, you can actually list it as 80 in order to promote, people putting this stuff on their cans.
Wow.
The intent was for winemakers and people that didn't know what the alcohol content was, but then the beer company said, wow, great. Are you telling me we can just misinform people for the last 10 years? And if you go to Michelob Ultra, you can see that it's 4.2% alcohol. It's a 355 ml can. You do the math, that's about 14 grams of ethanol. Ethanol is 7 calories per gram. You do the math, add back in the carbs, it comes up to 115. And I went down to the grocery store and looked at every single White Claw and everything. All of them are lying by 20%.
Wow.
So I actually might put on my can something like a calorie equivalent or something, just to be like more, that 78 is really more like, whatever, 60, 62 or something. No one knows that. There's no articles about it. No, every time a reporter talks about Michelob Ultra and they report that it's 95, I've written to them and I said, just because they said it was 95, can't you do the math? It's 115. Yeah. Now some people might say it doesn't matter, but come on, that's 20%. I'd love to advertise instead of 78. I'd love to put 60 on there.
And the insidiousness of it is that it's being sanctioned, basically. The FDA saying, yeah, go ahead. We just want you to get it out there and promote it. It's like, yeah. Johnny said, how long do I have to wait till I can order it in Europe or Scandinavia? Obviously, this is just U.S. right now?
Yeah, right now it's just U.S. I mean, first of all, it's hard enough. We do ship the KE4 and the KE1. We do ship it to the EU. We even have an EU warehouse, so it ships from there, which is having its own COVID problems. with shipping. Yeah. But the R13, being that it's an alcohol, will just freak out customs. They're going to be like, what is this? I can't have, I'm going to send them to the Jimmy Moore podcast to explain to them what this is. Like, so for a while, it's not going to be, available outside of the U.S. because of customs and alcohol, requirements for every country.
Right.
Some people have used a mail forwarding service. So there's like MyUS, I think it's myus.com. One person has been able to get it through that has tried. But it's going to cost a lot more because it's really heavy and shipping water across the world. But, depends how motivated you are. But we won't be able to help with any paperwork. If the customs comes back and says, we need all this paperwork, it's not going to be something that's going to, yeah.
Right. And it just means those of us in America need to make this popular so that it gets popular enough, and there's demand for a Hard Ketones UK version or Europe version that you can set up shop over there so that you don't have all the import kind of stuff to deal with. So Bulletproof says you can label it, quote, "We don't lie about the calories," end quote.
Maybe. I got to figure out something to stay competitive.
Yes. So again, guys, hardketones.com/buy. Use the coupon code Jimmy10. Frank was very generous to give you 10% off if you want to try these. And yes, I'm telling you guys, I have 2 of these in my system, and I'm better now than I was like 15 minutes ago. 15 minutes ago, I was real tipsy. So one more time.
It's short-lived. It's shorter-lived. It's shorter-lived. The buzz is faster. It's not as long-lasting. It's not as long-lasting as ethanol. It's a faster buzz.
Yeah, it came on really fast, and I started feeling it about 2/3, 3/4 of the way down in the first can, and then I drank the second can. I got about halfway, and I was just like, okay, whoa. And so mission accomplished, because Jimmy doesn't drink often. I'm going to do one more ketone reading while we're here. It started at 2 on the BioSense. It went to 4. And again, you said that it goes to the blood first and then it has to convert. So we're seeing that rise. Let's see if we can get one more rise. It needs to rise up. So what's on the horizon next? I know you mentioned about the new products you're thinking about. What's happening in your company, in your world?
So the different flavors for the hard ketones, we're working on the beer and then the gin, and that'll keep us busy. Eventually, our next products after that, which might be 6 months to a year from now, will be the working title right now is Skip It Coffee. And the idea is to make a coffee with no caffeine. So all decaf and organic coffee have ketone ester in it, and have ketone ester help you detox from your caffeine addiction. Caffeine doesn't give you energy. You think it gives you energy, but it doesn't. It just puts you at a deficit, and you're just climbing back. So that's on the horizon as well. And the ketone ester actually does match very well with the coffee. It actually tastes pretty good. It gets covered up pretty well.
Yeah. All right. It's analyzing. We're going to see what it is in real time. This is about 50-ish minutes since I drank the very first one. I got 2 of them in my mouth. And the verdict is the first reading was 2. Now it's up to 5. So it's going up still. So
what does 5 mean? I don't even know on a breath meter. Would 5 be in ketosis by the traditional definition?
It's equivalent to 0.5.
Oh, 0.5. Okay.
So it went
if that was a blood meter, you'd be at 2.0. Okay.
Right. It went from 0.2 to 0.5 in the 50 minutes. And again, you said it's a delayed response. So, I mean, I'm not awake much longer. I usually go to bed about 8 o'clock. So I'll try to blow into that a couple more times to see if it continues the rise. Like you said, that conversion from BHB, beta hydroxybutyrate, over to the acetone. I wish I had a blood meter. I just stopped measuring blood. I get it. Some of the meters were inaccurate, and then just the pain in the ass of pricking your finger. It's just easier if you can blow into something, but it doesn't work quite as efficiently as something like your product. So, but thank you, Frank, for being here. Appreciate you sharing all your mad knowledge. Thanks for getting Jimmy more drunk on a podcast for the first time. I've done 1,800 episodes. I've never drank on a podcast until now.
There you go. All right. Thanks for having me, and I'm glad it worked for you.
Yes. And guys, thank you for watching. You're never going to see Jimmy Moore do a podcast at 6 o'clock at night again. This is usually, I'm winding down by now, usually Frank, and just like so tired, and I am sleepy, but your drink has got me a little more buzzed, literally.
Are you gonna skip dinner, or do you still plan on having dinner?
I still am a little peckish, but I'll probably skip eating. I don't usually eat this late because it messes with my sleep. I like to preserve my deep sleep. And so if I eat something now, it has to digest, and that always eats into my deep sleep. So,
well, I'm dying to hear what your meters are tomorrow. So post it on IG and tag me.
Yeah,
good or bad, post what your meters are. And also if you can post what your weekly trend is, so we can see, it's all relative to how you normally are. So it'd be great to see your weekly trend to see if it pops or dips.
On the ketones, you're saying?
No, on the Oura Ring, on your Oura Ring data to show your sleep for the week, and then
I post every single day on my Instagram my sleep data. So yeah, everybody knows my sleep's pretty damn good. Like most of the time, 4 hours combined REM deep, almost like clockwork. Sometimes a little below, sometimes closer to 5, but most of the time right at that 4. And so yeah, let's see. The only thing I'm worried about is I had 2 12-ounce beverages is having to go pee all night. So,
well, I'd be curious to see if it makes you. Yeah, let's see if it makes it.
But thank you for sending me some sample cans of those, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, go to hardketones.com/buy if you want to check out the products. Use coupon Jimmy10 and you get that 10% off. But thank you for watching, you guys. Thank you, Frank, for joining. And we'll see you guys again real soon.
Time to get inspiration from the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the LivinLowCarbShow.com.
Tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.